Something a bit different for me today. In this pen and ink cross-hatching tutorial, I'm going to show you some easy ways of creating 3-dimension within a wildlife illustration. Now when you're working with pen and ink, or pen and wash, whichever way you want to say it, pen and ink is just obviously without colour, and also you don't have to use waterproof pens as we mentioned. This is some scrap watercolour paper. Look. This is the 01 nib, so really fine. What you can do, you can use all sorts of lines. So this is going to be just straight lines to create detail, and the closer the lines are together, the darker that area will look. So what I mean? So I'm keeping them closer together, as you can see there. So really dark. You can also use what's called cross-hatching if you've never used that before. Cross-hatching basically is this, and then you go around the opposite way, and you're basically doing like a grid system all the way through like so. That's cross-hatching. But again, like we did on that side, you can have the lines closer together to make it darker in one place and further apart to make it lighter. And also you can go, instead of horizontal and vertical, you can go diagonal, so you can just go this side as well to darken it yet again. So this is another method people use when they're adding detail when they're working with pen and ink or pen and wash. And go the opposite way as well. See how darker that is getting now? This can get really, really dark. Look at that. I know, it's quite effective really, isn't it? So then you can increase the lines, keep them closer together, and then ease off those lines as you come away. And the same that way. So then we've actually got one slightly darker corner. And that's how that works. The other technique as well is by using what's called pointillism or stippling. So you can do it this way. Alright, lots of little stipple marks like so. Preferably no long ones like that. So you have to have your pen vertical really. But it's difficult for me to show you that, obviously on camera when I've got the camera right above just there. Alright. And again the same applies. So the further apart the lines are, or the dots are in this case, the lighter the area will be. And as you get closer together, right, getting closer and closer, the darker the area will appear. And that's the way to work with stippling as well. Tiny little dots. That's all you're doing. Look how much darker that area is there compared to the rest of it. And when that's viewed from a distance, it actually blends together quite well. So that's another method you can use with your pen to kind of get the details on. So that's just 3 different methods, and there's many more out there, you know, by using curves as well. Same idea as that, or this, but using curves and going the opposite way using curves to create more of a cylindrical shape. So that's a little bit about working with pen, and there's much more to it than that, as you can imagine. There really is. But just going to give you some basic guidelines. So as I mentioned, I'm starting with, not that one, I'm going to start off with the 01 nib, so that one there, okay. And I want to start off by working around the very edge of this toadstool. And I'm going to take my time, try and get used to the way the pen works. So if you're not sure, test it on some scrap paper first of all for kind of pressure that you're going to use. So I'm just using very fine amount of pressure, very light pressure there, look, to give the finest of marks. And if I just bring the pen up a little bit higher and slightly more pressure, you see the difference compared to that? Yeah. So that's what you can do. So you're having the pen slightly on its side will also ease those details as well. So it's not quite as dark or as thick a line. So we do need to define the outside edge of these. So when you get to the edges, just lower that pen down. So instead of going vertical, lower it down so it's just about grazing the edge of that pen tip. Okay. And then when you lower that down, as low as you can go anyway without being uncomfortable, then you can very lightly tap and stipple, like I just showing with them dots, around the very edge of the white areas. Okay. The very edge. So it's not quite as defined. And by doing so, I'm just grazing the texture of the paper, just grazing the surface a little bit, just to create just a bit more of a mark in there. And you can do that with this low angle as well to stipple. So you can put little tiny stipple marks in as well, just to create some texture Don't go too heavy with the pen to begin with. It's best to go kind of nice and soft and light on its side first, rather than going really thick and pressing on a little bit harder. You don't want to press on too hard anyway, because at least that way around, if it's nice and pale, nice and light like this, you can just fine tune that. You can thicken it out if you want to. See what I mean? You've got room for kind of changing things a little bit, because this is waterproof ink, don't forget. So once it's on the paper, it's on the paper. So remember that. That's why you need to take your time with it. Also, don't forget to click on that subscribe button down below, and don't forget that bell icon as well, just so you'll never miss one of my YouTube videos. Okay, one little technique I didn't show you is scumbling, and all it simply is this sort of thing. Okay, scumbling, little tiny squiggles, hardly any pressure whatsoever on this pen. Okay, so that is another way you can add texture as well. Let's draw a rough shape, something like this for a rough toadstool shape. Okay, well, it's not bad. Yeah, that'll do, something like that. And what I'm thinking of, we've got all these smaller kind of areas underneath which are shaded slightly. If I just make a very light mark there, a very light mark here, in slight curves like so, and another curve there. Think about when you're looking at this, when you're looking dead centre, the lines are going to be near on to 12 o'clock. When you're looking more to the right hand side, the lines are going to be more or less initially, before it curves around, towards probably 2 o'clock. Okay, and then likewise when you look on the left hand side, the lines are going to be more towards 10 o'clock before it curls around. So, for example, if we say 2 o'clock and then curves around to 1 o'clock, you find gradually these lines start to level out to this line here as you work your way along. So now it's getting straighter, barely touching the paper as you can see. Okay, and then we'll do the opposite way around. So remember that one is from 10 o'clock through to, let's say 11, something like that. And then as we get between the halfway point and here, that point there is going to be a little bit more right, isn't it? Probably towards 11 o'clock and then curls up. So bear that in mind. So this is more in the 12 o'clock position here. Then gradually coming away from 12 between 11 and 12. Gradual curves, remember. And then as you work your way around, it gets a little bit more bendier. And as you get towards the corner here, it's as you tighter curls as well. Something like that. And that's basically what we're looking at doing. But putting lots and lots of lines very, very lightly. We're still using our 0-1 nib there, you know, but that's fine. Got the idea? So that's what you're looking at. And then what you can do, once you've got the first kind of worked out area where it's going to be, you can add more lines, but just smaller areas now, just on the bottom. Remember what we said about increasing the amount of lines, for example here, and it gets lighter the fewer lines we use as we go away. That's basically what we're doing, but more in a vertical way. So we're just going to add some very light lines just down towards the base of the toadstool. Following that pattern, following that direction again, each one slightly curved, but shorter. And then go in the opposite direction, like so. Got the idea? So, here we go. So remember what I said. From the middle, it's going to be more towards 12 o'clock. To put these very light grazes, barely touching the paper, and keeping your pen at quite an angle like that when you're working with the paper itself. And gradually build up the details as you work your way along. Changing that direction as you work as well. And thinking about those gentle curves. I hope that gives you an insight into the world of cross-hatching and how I sometimes use a pen and wash technique within my wildlife illustrations. Let me know in the comments below if you would like more videos on pen and ink wildlife drawing techniques, and I'll see what I can do.